Okay, so you got through the general DOT awareness classes. Great. Now Dana and I are tag teaming in this video to bring you the workplace specifics of DOT. DOT training deals with handling, labeling, packaging, and shipping of hazardous goods. However, if we ship via air or internationally, there will be more regulations that we also have to adhere to. This specific video is concentrating on how DOT regulations apply to us here at our plant when we are handling, packaging, labeling totes, drums, and containers for shipping. The main reference document that goes along with this video is our handy-dandy Prepare Totes, Drums, and Pails for Transport Standard Operating Procedure. It should be made available here for you to review while you're watching this video as we go along. In the notebook, there are also some laminated quick reference flip charts. These are available as well in control rooms for quick access. There will be a quiz at the end of this training to ensure you are better prepared to perform your job correctly in the field. So with all that said, let's learn how to handle, package, label, and ship. All right, first thing to know is what size tote. Can you see the difference there? That's 275, that's a 330. We got to order for 200C, which is always in a 330. So guess which one we gonna grab? Nope, that one. It's taller, it's bigger. So let's say you don't have two totes side by side to compare. How do you know which one's 275 and which one's a 330? Well, check out page 4 in your SOP. Look at the UN codes, and it's going to show you right there. Another tote you might see if we're filling CB300 product is shown here. It doesn't look like the others as it doesn't have a cage, as it's made for combustible liquids. In addition to totes, we may be asked to ship by drum or pail. One that you will see often is an open-top drum. That drum features a lid that comes completely off and is secured by a band. The others that you'll see will be closed-top drums. Those are the ones where you remove the bung hole to fill them. Sometimes we're required to send smaller shipments in pails, and it's basically the same as a closed-top drum, as it has a cap to secure the fill hole. Of course, we also deal with larger shipments in tankers, and they have their very own SOPs. But in this video, we are only concentrating on the smaller shipment methods. You know how much goes in it?
All 330s get 4,600.
4,600 on all 330s?
Yeah.
While that weight is true, anything different than MicroPro 200 ARC in a 330-gallon tote requires a pause moment. If we have a Canadian order or 275-gallon tote order, we need to pause and refer to our chart. Our Prepare Totes, Drums, and Pails for Shipment SOP has charts to assist you in determining proper weights for placement and various container types. Sections of the SOP are also contained in a laminated flip guide in the control room for easy access. The weights are determined from product density. Density can be easily explained by the statement, items weigh different at similar volumes. For example, if you fill one tote up with water and fill another with MicroPro, you will find that the MicroPro tote weighs a lot more even though they're filled up to the exact same volume. A product's density affects how much we can put in certain spec containers. Specific containers are allowed to only hold so much weight. So the bottom line is, and this is important, if you're unsure about your fill capacity after looking at your SOP or chart, take a pause and ask a supervisor to assist you in determining correct container and weight. Some items on the chart are grayed out for package weights and requires more information before filling. It's important to get it right than to get it quick. What you looking in there for?
You got to make sure ain't nothing, the tote is empty.
Yeah.
And the where the product come out the hole, make sure ain't nothing blocking it.
You always want to secure them dog ears so they don't come loose and that stuff goes spraying everywhere.
Yeah, but it do happen. You hear me?
You gonna let a little bit run out?
Yeah.
Is that to get all the air out?
Well, just make sure in case somebody didn't wash the land out. But I always wash it out.
Yeah. Everybody can.
No, I don't trust nobody. Ain't nobody gonna get hit upside the head with me. Well, this the other damn thing I'm looking for right here. I already had it.
Now we zeroing the whole thing out. Back to zero.
So the next part of the process, once we have the material in the proper container, is to ensure that the container is closed properly. When we're dealing with totes, we want to make sure that our discharge valves are closed, capped, and the foil seal is underneath. And we also want to make sure that the fill ports on top of the tote are closed properly. So that brings us to the next item in our flip chart, which is our packaging closure specifications. And in that document, you're going to see all the torque specs for each type of tote. One of the things we want to look out for when we're picking which torque we need to use is the brand of tote that we're using. So if you look in the image on your screen, there's going to be manufacturer's markings on the tote bottle, and the tote bottle is the technical word for the part that you fill. We do have refurbished totes, so the cage might be a different brand than the bottle, but of course we're not going to use the requirement for the cage. We're going to use the requirement for the bottle. So by looking on the tote, we can see the manufacturer's marking and compare that to our chart to determine which torque wrench and or torque wrench setting we need to use to make sure that it's closed right. Little bit of info on that. It has a gasket in there. Tighter is not better. When we're tightening things out in the plant and they give you a torque spec, that's what you're supposed to tighten it down to. Ratcheting it down further can actually damage the gasket, and we definitely don't want things splashing out of our containers during transport. Whoa! So just a quick word on how to secure sample bottles for shipment while we're discussing packaging closures. One of the things we want to look out for, or several things that we want to look out for when we're packaging sample bottles, is to make sure that the lid of the sample bottle is closed. We're then going to use an electrical style tape to wrap around that lid to make sure that the cap doesn't leak while it's in transport. We want the container to be clean, and we want to have the chemical name listed on the sample bottle. We then take that clean, labeled, and secured sample bottle and place it inside of a bag. Typically, we use a trash bag just to further make sure that that bottle doesn't leak. And then we'll tie that trash bag closed and place it inside of our cardboard shipper. You'll notice there in the photos that it does have up arrows, so anytime we see those, we want to abide by that and be sent through UPS, and definitely not trying to get some chemical on my cat food. So the next part of the process, once we have the chemical in the proper container and we can seal that container properly, is to make sure that it has the correct documentation with it, and that's going to include the labels on the outside of the package. So that's going to bring us to our next flip chart image here, and that's going to be our label placement quick reference guide. So this is going to be, again, these are in all the control rooms. So once I've sealed it properly, I'm going to put everything on the outside of the package. So to select the transport hazard labels that we're going to put on the outside of the package, in addition to all the other labels that we need to put on there, as we saw in our quick reference guide. Say, for example, we look at MicroPro 200A, if it's going ground, which if we're sending totes to anywhere continental USA, it's going to go ground. I'm not going to have to put any additional hazard labels on there. So those diamond labels, those are our shipping labels, shipping hazard labels. So you can see back to the original label placement guide. You can always use this out in the field. It's going to tell you about all the bill of lading, the SCS, everything that you need to put on the outside of this tote to make sure it ships properly. So one of our other tools that we need to know Where they're located out in the plant is those labels. So remember, if we look at the label placement guide, we've got product labels, there's inspection labels, weight tote labels, SDS's, bill of ladings. Where do we get those things? So in the control room, there are bins they're labeled, and they're going to have pouches with SDS's in them, so they're ready for you to grab to put on the outside of your tote or drum shipment. There are also going to be containers with envelopes, and those are going to have our product labels in them. So that's where that information is located. In the event you start running low on that stuff or run out, don't fret. You just bring your container back up to the front office area, and there are replenishment containers pre-made for you, so you would swap an empty for a full. Shrink wrap the drums to a pallet. So let's think about this. We're putting labels on there, so we want to make sure that however we orient those drums on that pallet, that those labels on each drum are facing out. So there you have it. We want to make sure we're using the right package. We have 3 types of totes: a smaller tote, which is our 275, the larger 330, and then the one specifically for CB300. Utilize your flip charts. They're found in the control room. You should feel really confident filling up the product based off of the chart. If there is not a weight listed on that chart, we need to ensure that that container is going to hold a product of that density. After that, it's just making sure it's closed properly and it has all the proper labels on the package as we've discussed. So now you're ready to get out in the field and get to twerking it down. Please take your test, use the tools that you have. All of these items are made available to you, including your standard operating procedure, and have an awesome day.